Hello everybody, welcome back to Easy Weeknight Cooking, and we are back with something actually a little less easy tonight, but so worth it. What we're going to be doing tonight is Greek style roast, just in time for Easter. You see, my godmother used to do this amazing leg of lamb every single Easter, and she'd invite the family over, and oh boy, was that great. Oh my gosh, it was really to die for. And so I'm going to teach you how to do that to whatever cut of meat you prefer, because obviously there are some of you guys who can't have lamb or can't have beef or whatever. So tonight we're going to go through just the yummiest way to make even game meat tender and moist. And so what are we going to need? We are going to need Greek seasoning. We are going to need about a teaspoon kosher salt per pound. We're going to need black pepper, butter. Now this is about half of a cube right here, and this is a 3-pound roast, so that'll be perfect. We need olive oil, garlic. Oh, this thing hinges on garlic. Seriously hinges on garlic. And of course, we need your roast. So the very first thing we're going to be doing, first things first, is we need to get the Greek seasoning and the olive oil getting all sorts of friendly. And so what we're going to do is per pound of meat, we're going to use 1 teaspoon of Greek seasoning and 1 tablespoon of olive oil mixed. So since this is a 3-pound cut of meat, I'm going to do 3 teaspoons of Greek seasoning. Still smells so good. So 1 tablespoon per pound of olive oil right in the Greek seasoning. And what we're going to do is we're going to let this stuff marinate and just get all sorts of friendly. And it is such a great, great mix. So the olive oil is a little fruity. The Greek seasoning in the oven. If you can do low and slow, there's a lot of oregano, rosemary, and garlic. Wow. It just falls apart. Pepper in there. And you don't have that kind of time. 350 to 375. You're going to go ahead and mix that up so it just won't be as tender. Into a thin paste. And when I say thin paste right now, that's about what you're getting. Now, as the spices hydrate, this is going to thicken a little bit. That's why you're going to do 1 tablespoon of oil per teaspoon of seasoning. So we have our roast. I'm going to put that over here while we get onto our garlic. And we're going to need about, I would say anywhere from 1 medium clove per pound to say 3/4 of a large clove per pound. So 2 large cloves for this 3 pounds of meat is going to be just perfect. And we're gonna slice this garlic pretty thinly. Actually, we want really kind of slivers, very, very thin, just like that. And so that will allow a lot of garlic flavor into that roast without overwhelming things. Beware, you will get your hands dirty with this, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. Anyway, there's our garlic. We have our pepper and our salt, our spices mixed with oil, and our butter. You're probably not going to be keeping what's left over in these unless you're doing another roast like I've been today, because they will get contaminated by the meat. So definitely put them in a separate container. Don't just dip right out of the container that you normally use. So let's get cooking. So this is about a 3-pound chuck roast. We've got our paring knife. We've got, let me see, where to put them? We've got our measuring spoons. I'm going to use about 1/8 of a teaspoon of pepper and a 32nd of a teaspoon of salt per slit. So I've got my garlic right, my salt right there. I've got my pepper right here, my butter right here, and we're going to go ahead and start off making just a slit that you can put your finger into right in the roast. Stuff a piece of garlic right in there. Grab your 1/8 of a teaspoon. Pour pepper right in there. About a 1/16 of a teaspoon or a 32nd of a teaspoon of salt. And here's where the fun part comes. Grab yourself probably, well, as much as a 1/4 teaspoon of butter and just shove it on in there. You're going to plug the hole with butter, and you're going to want this butter to be actually not really terribly soft, but not really firm either. You want it to have a good texture to it so it's shovable. And just continue doing that about 1 inch apart all over the roast. 1/8 of a teaspoon of pepper, and actually that's a bit much, so 1/16 of a teaspoon of pepper will be just fine. And get yourself some butter, shove that on in there. So we're going to make another slit, let's say right about there. And you do not need these very deep, not deep at all. You're only getting them about yay deep. So that way you can get everything in there, but you're not also going all the way through your roast. So shove that garlic in there, grab yourself some pepper, grab yourself a little bit of salt, grab yourself a little bit of butter, and plug the hole with butter. Okay. So you're going to continue this all over the roast, about 1 inch apart. And if you want to stagger things, that works just fine. If you've got a roast with a lot of connective tissue in it, you're going to want to go low and slow, because that connective tissue, actually the collagen there, will start dissolving at about 250 degrees. And so if you, in order to give it that kind of time, you want it to actually be in about a 250 oven for a good long time, and then just go ahead and check it periodically depending on the poundage. And a couple hours is not uncommon for those kind of temperatures for a roast of this size. This is also a really great way to make sure you have a very tender, lean cut of meat. I've done elk roasts for some time now, and there's nothing that gives a juicy, tender elk roast like this treatment of the meat. I think it's actually has something to do with the butter, just making sure that you've got those wonderful fats just infused right into the meat and captive. So this is something you can do ahead of time and just slap it in the freezer for a while and bring it out when you're ready to have that special dinner, or let it sit in the fridge for a couple of days. It so works. It works so well, and there's nothing like planning ahead that will get you a lot more success and a lot less stress on a day like Easter. You know, spend more time with the kids or grandkids finding Easter eggs and less time in the kitchen. Yes, I am almost done with this. This is not a very thick roast. So with what we're doing, we're actually getting a lot of that garlic right into the middle of the roast. It's so yummy. Talk about infusion into your meat. Yes. Now, I am really stuffing these holes with butter. I'm trying to get as much as possible in there and just plugging it up. So that way, all your wonderful juices from your roast don't just leak all over Kingdom Come. Normally with a leg of lamb, which is what I learned this recipe on, you would be doing this all over the leg on all sides. But with a beef roast like this, because there's not a lot of sides to it, if you were to try to go up from the bottom, you'd also hit some of those other pockets, and it'd be, I think you'd be just letting a lot of the juices of the steak out without a whole lot of extra benefit. Now, if you've got a really thick roast and very, very round, maybe it's tied, that would work very well for doing this on all sides. And talk about concentrated flavor. Woof! There we go. Now, It doesn't look like much now, but you just wait until you see what I've got over here. So now, at this point, it's when you stir up your spices again, because they will have hydrated, and you've got a bunch sticking to the bottom at this point. And now is the time to just brush that all over your roast. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Ooh. All that wonderful infused olive oil. Oh, yes. You can't tell I like olive oil, can you? Nah, never. Okay, put that bad boy over. You get those spices everywhere. Oh, wow, look at that. Now, I really love doing this particular way of getting the olive oil on here. Used to be that I would just go ahead and sprinkle on the Greek seasoning and then rub it with olive oil. Well, I lost a lot of the Greek seasoning doing that. And this way, you get tons of flavor, just tons of flavor all over the place. You can get it in those nooks and crannies with this guy. Okay. Boy, howdy. Get over there. Off my hands and onto the meat. Here we go. Alrighty, I need to wash my illegally hands and put this into a Dutch oven. And let's take a look at what we got. And you know what? I think we can probably just put this aside for now and let you see what else we got. The other roast. Oh, yes. Now you got to see this. Look at that. Oh, boy. This has been resting on the counter for about 20 minutes now. And that's a beautiful time for all of those wonderful juices to just come right on back into the meat. You see, when hot meat comes out of the oven, it actually expresses its juices, so it lets go a lot of the liquid inside of it. You let it rest on the counter in juices, and it'll let them go and then suck them back up. And that is what is called resting, is when you let it just sit there long enough for it to suck the juices back up. Oh. Right here. That is gold right there. That's a bit of garlic right there. What do you say? Looks yummy. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's awesome. No. Okay, that is really awesome. So, okay, it's been a while since I've had this recipe. Can you tell? I've always loved it. But anyway, from our kitchen to yours, there is a really great Greek style roast. And by the way, do not, I repeat, do not let these drippings go to waste. Make yourselves a really great gravy out of this by adding a slurry of either starch or flour. Now, how you make a slurry is basically you put your flour or starch in a cup or a bowl, and then put a little water in it, hydrate it, put a little bit more water in it, and then put it in here on high heat. Get this boiling, and then you put that already hydrated starch or flour in your drippings. Keep stirring, and it'll get thick. Now, for those of you who are low carb, I've got a gimme for you. You're the same thing, but with flaxseed or chia seed or psyllium husk, and it comes out wonderful. So you're going to have to play with the amounts, but from our kitchen to yours, there is a really great Easter crowd pleaser, Greek style roast, and you guys keep things tasty.